with UniqoWilliams. That's right, it's your boy coming at you on a Thursday, as I always love to do, because Thursday's my favorite day of the week. Why? Well, I was born on a Thursday, 11:47 a.m. Woo! So happy to be back with you again on another beautiful day. The days are getting much more beautiful, aren't they? I'm loving it. First off, I definitely want to apologize for the video quality from last week because life happens. Facebook happens. I tried to go Facebook Live and I was taking the phone out my holder, and it was like, all right, we about to close the app and everything he was just doing. So I had to go find some third-party app to retrieve what it was doing. But since it was live, it was like blurry. It was bad, and I apologize for that. But it's cool. We get better every single time. So let's get into it, man. Let's get right into it. We got a lot to talk about today on this special Thursday. Not quite my birthday, but you know, it works. So let's see here. So our first topic today, well, the people who are in charge of, let's just say, Dr. Seuss's estate, if you will, the people that still decide if they're publishing his books and all that, they decided to take 6 books off of publishing and not publish them anymore. Now, this is being due to not depicting the characters in a way that would not be hurtful to communities or to ethnicities. So like, for instance, there was like a line in there on my way to the zoo, or what that book called? This is one of the books I didn't read. If I Ran the Zoo, written in 1950. Something to the effect of tant, and he rhymed it with carried by a man with slant, his eye was slant, referring to a Chinese person, if you will, Asian person. So yeah, like stuff like that, the depictions of different cultures, the way he drew them, they felt like it was insensitive of the different cultures. So these 6 books are If I Ran the Zoo, To Think I Saw It on Mulberry, that was written in 1937. McElligot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs Super, The Cat's Quizzing. I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. That's okay. So, you know, I was actually reading. I read today. I was reading If I Ran the Zoo, or this more or less a 3rd grade teacher or 2nd grade teacher was reading it to me on YouTube. But yeah, I was reading it and looking at the pages, and they could be offensive. They could be offensive. They could be, but it was 1937, and I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong. Times change, and you kind of are a product of the age that you're brought up in. You know what I'm saying? You're brought up in that, and he was brought up. Now, mind you, he wrote political satire and whatnot, political cartoons for a newspaper in New York, and he did depict, you know, during the World War II, he depicted Japanese people in a not so nice way, you know, exaggerating features and things like that. But you know, I'm looking at these photos, and I'm thinking about when I was a kid, and I was like, I didn't even notice that. I just didn't. I didn't notice that the person that you were saying was from Africa. I didn't realize that you were making fun of them. I was just amazed at the animals that they had in Africa in your mind. I'm looking at, you know, he went to Russia and grabbed some stuff, and he shows what I now know to be a stereotypical Russian. if you're doing satire, if you will. But I just honestly don't feel like he was doing it to hurt anybody. I'm gonna be real with you. The first person or the first depiction of Africa that I ever seen, I gotta say it was probably Tarzan. I don't I didn't know about Africans. Me being an African American, you know, 2 3 year old in the '90s, if you will. I hadn't seen an African person before. So what I saw was just I'm like, I don't know, there's these people in Africa and they have these like animals and they went and got the animals and did that whole thing. Um because his kid's just collecting animals. I don't know. He's just collecting animals and I'm like intrigued by it. But I I didn't I just had such a love for reading. And when you're a kid, yeah, that's a very impressionable stage that you're in. I get that. But not if you I didn't grasp it that way. I didn't look at it and be like, "Ooh, this is funny. Look at funny African man." I know I didn't do that. I was intrigued into the story. The illustration helped. I was looking at the animals. I wasn't looking at the people. I was looking at the animals. So it's I don't know. He just came from a time where I guess, and that's not saying it's okay. That's just like racism. It was cool to be racist. It was all right to be racist at some point, but then you learn your lesson and you stop being racist and you teach the ones after you that it's not okay to be racist. And you come to that point and actually believe that what you were doing was wrong. Being racist is wrong. Like you have to come to that truth yourself. Or you just have this other truth that black people are this, which is something that's handed down very frequently, that black people are lesser than that. Even in other cultures, even in like Asian culture and in Mexican culture, South American culture, if you will, they're even taught to look down on black people. So there's stuff that's being taught, and again, I'm saying he was making these stories in 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, what have you. And you got to think about it. When people were doing political cartoons and stuff, like, you don't think Germany drew pictures of what they think Italians look like? Like, Europe probably had the most racism going on for people that just live miles away from each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, how crazy is that? These people live just miles away from each other. And they're different enough to where you make fun of them, or they're somehow different enough that you feel like you're superior to them or something to that effect. Again, he was a product of the times. I really believe that's what it was. That reminds me of another story that came out this week about Eminem, how they was trying to quote unquote cancel Eminem for a line that he said in that song with Rihanna, the one that just gonna stand there and watch me burn. That one, he said something about tie the girl up to the bed and watch and stand there and watch it burn. Um, for the youth out there, I don't know if y'all know this person, but his name is Slim Shady. His name is Marshall Mathers, and Marshall Mathers is he's a lot different from the Eminem that you know today. Um, yeah, like 98, 99 rap and all that stuff, it was a lot different. And he said some stuff that was like, right now you can't rap that way and get famous. You can't do that anymore. That's gone. The shock rap is gone. If you're going to be mainstream, you cannot rap about killing your baby mama and riding around with your daughter, and while the corpse is in the back and you just throw you yeah, that's Slim Shady. Yeah, he did that. So so with that being said, yeah, even my boy Tyler the Creator, one of my favorite artists. I mean, he said some things that was a little that were inspired by Eminem. They just kind of were what they were. They were a shock group. But did you notice how he's grown a lot? Tyler the Creator's music is a lot different now. It's a lot more quote unquote acceptable for the mainstream. But Tyler got to grow, and we allowed him to grow. And nobody's going around saying, "Oh, look at these, listen to VHS from Tyler back in 2010. Man, he was crazy, and he said some off. Cancel him." Should have never said it. No, it's not gonna happen. We're not gonna cancel Tyler the Creator. We're gonna let him be a kid and let him allow him to grow into the man that he is today. Dr. Seuss, even as he was going into the later stage of his life, as he would die in 1991, he he was like, "Hey man, I'm looking back at on some of the stuff I drew, and I understand now that it was wrong for me to do that. Looking back on it now, I should not have depicted people in that way. Looking back on it now, as time changed and as time like as as society changes, people change. That's why society changes, because the people have changed. So he was able to admit his own faults. He was able to do that, and I'm happy knowing that he did die like that. But there's no need to there's no cancel needed for this. And when I say die like that, like he died, no, admitting that he was wrong, asking for forgiveness, that whole thing, and showing us like, yo, I'm not racist or anything. I was just I was just being an artist, and that's how we depicted things back then. Um, so this was National Read Across America Day and all that, and it was dedicated to Dr. Seuss and his birthday, which I believe was March 2nd. And even the president would go on to be like, hey, we're not going to mention Dr. Seuss. We're going to just say, hey, read a little bit this week, guys, a little bit more than you used to. Well, there was no need for that. I think that's a little overboard, Mr. President. I think that it's okay to acknowledge Dr. Seuss and a man. We need to start acknowledging that you can make mistakes, man. Start acknowledging that people can make mistakes and they can change. And let's start thinking about their hearts as well, because Dr. Seuss, I do not believe he had one bone in his body that wanted to just sit up and blatantly disrespect people. If you read it in his books, you can't tell me that the books that he read were not in a place where he wanted to help all the children that would go on to read it. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. He's not canceled. I'm sorry. He's not canceled. Dr. Seuss will be a mainstay in my house as I grow up, and when I grow up, and or as I have children and if I have a family and all that cool stuff, Dr. Seuss will be in that home. That's just it. And we will read Dr. Seuss. One of my most fondest memories was when my mom bought me a Dr. Seuss set. Came with like 10 books, and it had bookends made of one of his characters that he drew up. And it was one of my most cherished gifts that I'd ever gotten. A, it came from my mom. That meant a lot. B, it was super duper dope. Man, I reread those books time and time again for like years until video games became a big part of my life, and that's a whole nother story. But man, I would just sit up there, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, go dog go, cat in a hat, reading how good of a time it was. I mean, if y'all gonna have cancel culture, what about this grown ass cat that just pulled up at the crib and just start clowning and messing up the crib, and they cleaned it up before the mom got home? That could have ended wrong. What if he wasn't a good-natured cat? Okay, just think about that for a second. It could have went sideways, all right? But I just honestly just feel like we're not canceling Dr. Seuss. It's a wrap, because one of my favorite books, he wrote it, and I can turn to that book today as a grown man to inspire me and lift me right now. Those books hold a lot of value and a whole lot of weight, man. And they just have good nature, positive messages in them. And there's no reason to we're not going to do that. We're not doing that. Get out of here. You want to cancel Dr. Seuss, all three of y'all? Get out of here, man. We're not worried about it. And then here's the thing. Nobody asked for these books to be canceled. Let's remember that. It was his family. His family and people that kind of researched it and looked at it. Because obviously we weren't there in 1937. We can't vouch for the culture that it was in the world. We can't vouch for that. A lot of people can't. Historians can, but we can't. We're not old enough for that. I'm not even 37. So let alone 1937. And, you know, long ago, I wanted my own show. And all of it I felt was made possible from, oh, the places you'll go. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Don't forget, every Thursday, the full podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and mama, I'm on Spotify. Overall 99 ENT bring you videos from Friday all the way to Friday. So be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Again, thank you so much.